to believe.
Optic, by the way.
We haven't even talked about Optic, and they've been playing so well. But look, guess what? Enough of us talking, enough of the storylines, enough of the setup. Game one is here. Gentlemen, North America, your first broadcast, the debut for so many of these teams. It is match number 1 on Stormpoint. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Fallout. And here we go then, Dan. Match number 1 is live. Stormpoint is where we're going to be starting off. And like I mentioned, you can kind of pick your poison. You look at any of the team names that are in this lobby, and everybody has a story. Everybody has expectations. And every single team is going to have to fight extremely hard to finish up this Pro League in one of those top 9 spots. There is not enough spots, like you said, for everybody to get to that event that maybe should get to that event. And Optic Gaming, the team that we just about managed to squeeze into that end of that conversation, they're certainly going to be a team to watch because they have been arguably the dominant force in North America.
And now if you were watching earlier the EMEA broadcast, you would have heard me harping on about how people who drop in certain POIs and circles that were going towards their landing POI, and the success rate was very different here in North America last week. Even though we still saw people have successes when the circle came closer to their POI, it wasn't as noticeable as EMEA. We saw more teams having to travel a little bit further to get that victory, which means we are going to see a little bit more skewed results when it comes to where you drop and where that final circle is going to be going. We saw a little brief oversight of it there. It is going to be a slightly northern circle, slightly central as well, but it will start to pull up towards kind of the wall area you would imagine, and maybe just a little bit south of it.
Well, we're going to start off by watching FaZe. We've kind of dipped into the story of this lineup and the return, of course, of Snipedown. He retires from one game, he comes back to another. The bad news for Snipedown is he can't get rid of us, Dan. We're still here commentating his gameplay wherever he ends up.
No matter where he goes, we will follow. It's quite scary, really. He's probably sick of our voices at this point. But you know what? I'm not sick of his gameplay, because whatever game he touches, it does turn to magic. But now can you put it all together, right? Like we've said, individually, all of these 3 players have been incredible across various teams. They have had some hardships, some struggles in recent weeks since they formed, but scrims as of late have gone well. Ever since they've been playing this composition, ever since they found comfortable drop spots, they do seem to be working out. But now, when it's crunch time, when there's money on the line almost, when you are playing in a more significant game, can you actually get it done?
FaZe certainly, like I mentioned on the pre-show, going to be a team to watch, see how they develop and what areas of their game that they have those strengths and where those weaknesses are. The kind of the thing to do here for FaZe is how quickly can we identify those weaknesses and how quickly can we adjust them, knowing that there are just, of course, 9 qualification spots for playoffs in this Pro League. So they're going to have to get it right quickly if they are going to be in contention to be one of those teams, one of those 9 teams, in contention to be one of those teams, one of those 9 teams, of course, who do get to that LAN event. But for now, it's about just making sure that they're heavily looted. You can see they're crafting up at the moment. Abralele's got a purple, there's a blue, and I'm sure that white armor on Snipedown is going to be put into the crafter as well to level that one up as well. But for now, for FaZe, it looks like a heavy loot. They don't have too far to go from down B's to where this circle might be going, but it's not a quick rotation, which is something certainly to note here.
Yeah, it's not going to be the fastest, and they are going to have to pass through some pretty awkward chokeholds. But good news for them is, looking at the map overhead at the moment, there isn't too much in their way if they make their head like straight east and go through checkpoint. They should be fine with that rotation and should find themselves a nice little home iffy teams in that checkpoint. So they may be a little bit slower with the rotation because of that. Elsewhere, there are some teams who have already found themselves kind of central circle. You see First Attempt already making their move and finding residence in a building. Also going to be playing Loba Oxygen R, and that's going to mean that there's a real opportunity here to kind of steal some loot away. If the circle does pull towards you, if teams do start dying around you, then you are going to have plenty of loot to work with.
There's a couple of things that have been very notable for me just watching a couple of the teams when they see a Loba in the lobby as well. They're very reluctant to drop armors, to armor swap immediately and drop that armor because of the fact that they know there's a Loba in the area. If someone's in that black market, they're going to steal it away, and all of a sudden your time to heal is going to increase significantly. But for now, it's not even a fight that we have to focus on. It's the rotation of Team Liquid. We highlighted the new lineup. We've highlighted the fact that Gildeson's, of course, has now gone over to NRG, where he believes there's going to be more success for him. I'm interested to see if Team Liquid are going to try and target NRG a little bit here and try and prove Gildeson's to Gildeson's, excuse me. That might have been the wrong decision.
And you can see there, beacon information is going to take us slightly further north, and I can say that 12 out of the 20 teams are already within that beacon circle. That's crazy how quickly all the teams are rotating, but does go back to the statistics that the quicker you rotate, you are going to find more success, is what we've noticed so far in Pro League. with how the meta has developed. A lot of people avoiding fights, but at the same time, Guard just took down one member of 100 Thieves, so Rambo showing what he's made of, and it is going to seem like there are going to be plenty of battles happening, but they are just going to be little pokes at the moment rather than straight 3v3s.
Rambo, who, of course, made a lot of fans of the ALGS Championships. A lot of pop-off moments for him. That iconic moment where he managed to win that game as the solo player alive, doing so much damage for his team. And also, remember, filling in as a substitute on that lineup to really give them the gas that they needed coming in at the last second to not only be an amazing player, but the hero. And now some great shots coming in with that 30-30 are certainly going to help out. Just trying to destroy this Watson gen to make sure that team is going to feel even more uncomfortable than they were a few moments ago. But the Guards bang center zone at the moment, Dan. They've also got that Watson in the lineup. They've also got Arcane on the Crypto, so they should be able to not only fortify this building with those fences, but get so much information from that EMP and that drone as well.
Yeah, we saw such a high pick rate of Horizon last week, and I'm wondering whether that's going to go down slightly after the kind of results that teams have had with Watson featuring alongside Valkyrie and then Asia usually being the round out, but then also Newcastle has been, you know, so impressive in those final circles as well, that there is so much variety in where you can go with composition, and it is a very healthy meta at the moment in terms of which legends you select and who you are going to have featuring. But I am wondering whether we're going to see more or less Horizon this week, just based off what we saw from last week.
Yeah, one thing we did see, of course, with that defensive wall that goes down from Newcastle in those final circles, it's almost kind of replaced that Gibraltar bubble in those final moments where you see teams waiting to that last second to throw it out to the farthest side and buy themselves a bit of extra time. Getting that wall down almost does the equivalent, but the only difference is you have so much more protection. Nobody can walk up on you or they're going to get stunned, and you have those head glitches to play off of. So it's kind of almost like an upgrade on that bubble in those final moments if you play it correctly.
You almost have to, when you are on a team that doesn't have the Newcastle, you have to try and kind of predict it and isolate that Newcastle as he's jumping and be prepared for it. But it's so difficult when in those final circles, it's not like matchmaking where there's, 2 or 3 teams in a final circle. We're looking at 10 plus teams sometimes in the final circle. That's how nutty it is and how good these teams are at rotating early and finding these amazing positions as these circles get even closer and smaller. But we will see whether Newcastle really makes a difference in those final circles. We saw it a couple of times in EMEA earlier today, as well as last week, of course.
Space Station got to be extremely careful here, and I think Drop might have just got information. There is a team inside of that building that they were zipping down towards, or should I say zipping up north towards. So a little bit of a change of plan here for Space Station. I think they were hoping that building might have been vacated so that they could just take their time and reset and think about their next move. But instead, they've had to head a little bit west here through the waterhole and towards the zone from a slightly different angle.
And I do like this roster. I think that Space Station have picked up a very good team here, and I think that we saw what happened in the ALGS Championships. They got top 6, which was incredible, really. I mean, getting anywhere in the top 10 was never going to be easy with the sheer amount of brilliance we saw across the 20 teams that featured in the final lobby. But can they carry on that success? That's going to be the biggest question mark from a lot of fans and watchers, because individually, very impressive. Team fights in those final circles, they always seem to influence those battles as well. But sometimes you just go a little bit sour, you can go a bit stale. Are they going to do that? Are they going to be one of those teams that falls victim to that coming into year 3 here?
Well, it looks like the move is to the skies here from SSG. You did see the knock came in. It was actually dropped who managed to take down one of the members of the Guard. It's going to be Kieran. He went down. But can they take advantage of it? You imagine with the time that has elapsed that it won't be a case of being able to convert and take that building from the Guard. It's just going to be a case of using that time to get the Valkyrie ultimate popped and get up into the skies without taking damage, as of course the Guard would be taking their attention towards getting that res instead. Now it's up to Dropped to get information on where the teams are going to be around them, using that Seer passive as well as that Q to see if he can find any of those targets. But look at this. Unfortunately for SSG, they were looking strong, but now they've got a player on his back, and it's Optic. Not only do they get the knock, they get the finish. Now you're seeing the black hole come in, the Arc Stars, and SSG went from a position where they look pretty comfortable to now being just having to hold off this Optic push, and it is not going well for them. Space Station are done and dusted.
Any other team, and maybe you can get that player back up, but Optic Gaming, we know what they're like, and we know how aggressive they can be. When they see an advantage, they will take it. They get aggressive at the right time. They make sure they pick up that KP, and our first team is eliminated from North America Pro League here in week number 2. But there is also action in the kill feed. A couple of players being dropped left, right, and center. But it's whether Optic Gaming can now take that kind of kill momentum and progress even further into this circle and maybe get some more wipes on the go.
Well, Oxygen Esports, they're still residing inside of this building. They've been here for quite some time, and it looks like at the moment that they haven't really got too much to worry about as we look at our map overhead. No team's really in the vicinity to cause them any problems. They're going to be safe for now as well, but when we do see that zone pull, we're going to have to see if Oxygen have called this zone right and if they're going to be comfortable for the time going forward. However, a couple of teams who aren't looking comfortable. One of them is MPL, excuse me. They will go down to the hands of Pow Pow, who gets that final kill. So we have our second team now eliminated. Oxygen Esports, back to them. Much more serene point of view here from Protectful.
Yeah, when you are one of these teams that is kind of within the circle, you found a building, you know you're not going to be seeing much action for quite some time, but you do have to keep very aware, right? You can't afford to just be a lapsing concentration situation where a team walks up on you and gets 3 kills because you were, I don't know, stupidly looting or talking about who's got more batteries or anything like that. It's very easy to lose concentration in some of these long periods where you don't see action, but the best of teams will always be aware, will always be watching, will always be communicating to make sure they're on top of things and they don't get kind of run up on a little bit too easy. Circle is about to close and we're going to get some more information as to where it's going. I do think it will probably head a little bit more north of the current Cascade Falls situation where it is, but we'll see right here. There we go. It is going to be northeast of Cascade Falls. So there is 1, 2, 3 teams in that next circle.
One of those teams is, of course, Optic Gaming. The difficulty for Optic, even though they have the high ground as far as everybody else having to move up the kind of overall geometry of Storm Point, is they do have that huge wall behind them, and I'm sure a couple of teams will look to late rotate, maybe take a Valkyrie ult over if they do get damaged, or maybe there's going to be a couple of Horizons in this lobby that can jump over that fence and cause some problems. Although, like you say, haven't seen as much of that pick for now. Team Liquid, though, they're involved in a fight, and I'm pretty sure the team that's on the other side of this is going to be FaZe, and there it is. Albrella gets that first knock. Fun has to get that res, drags him back, and that is one of the things we don't talk about with Newcastle too much, is the ability to get those reses. Team Liquid, they're up to 3, but look at the pressure that FaZe are putting on.
FaZe are putting on the pressure, still trying to take advantage. 2 go down now, 1 remaining player here for Liquid, and even though they got the res, FaZe were not fazed by it. They were not scared by it. They continued to be aggressive. They continued to apply the pressure, and they are rewarded for it. So many teams may have been scared to push up, scared because of that res, and thought that they could have got maybe third-partied, but FaZe demonstrating why they're one of the best teams when they are locked in and when they are playing very well here.
The difficulty, though, for FaZe is they did all that damage, but I'm pretty sure they didn't get many of those KP. It was actually Rakinishu and crew who moved in to finish off some of those kills onto Team Liquid, and I think that FaZe are going to be pretty upset about that. Let's find out for ourselves. We'll jump into a listening now as they're trying to put pressure on this bubble.
Matt, I'm getting ulted.
They're pushing up, they're pushing up, I think.
I don't have ult.
Look, give me one, give me one. Wait, my bubble too slow.
Behind me. Oh, we're gonna die in the back. We needed him. Yeah, whatever.
Well, as we jump out of the phase listening, it was a brief one, Dan. It looked like initially they had all the damage down when we first jumped on board with them, but then all of the third parties arrived. Sentinel's one of those teams in the vicinity as well, and for FaZe, it's a disappointing game number 1.
Yeah, when I was just praising them for their aggression, you quite rightly highlighted it wasn't them who was getting the knocks. I hadn't noticed that because I was looking at the map overhead, but it meant that they were so vulnerable to those teams who were third-partying. I don't know whether the bubble came down late or something, but you heard in the comms they weren't too happy about it. It's not going to be the best of starts for FaZe here. It'll be on to the next one for them, and as I'm sure they dissect just what went wrong and whether they got a little bit too aggressive for those kills. But that is what Newcastle can do on the other side. Newcastle can really disrupt a fight with the ability to res and bring a player away who was knocked.
Great shots coming in here, and that's going to be the end of Rack Attack. They were the team initially who got that damage onto FaZe and onto Liquid as well. Unfortunately for them, during all of the carnage that went down when Sentinels got involved, they were left with just one player who had to hit the Valkyrie ult just to try and elongate the game for them. But he will be taken down at the hands of CLG. Now we're going to see bots. Stompy's has got the battery in his hands. He's having to use that knockdown shield, but the pressure now coming in on them as well. And all of a sudden, you're seeing teams just dropping left, right, and center. Slept on go down as well. And here come Complexity too in that kill feed.
Yeah, the further we get into this circle, the less room there is to play here, and that's why we're seeing so many teams getting knocked out. Sentinels eliminated, as you say, bots down to just 2, and maybe can get the third player back up because they do have the banner. But of course, that will generate a lot of attention here. Thankfully, they do have a remote beacon they can work with. But now the real question is, do you have any weapons that you can give along to your teammate who is going to be dropping in? There is the map overhead. There is the circle. As you can see, there are 6 teams who are still outside of that circle and are going to have to make their way in. They're going to be held out by the likes of Guard, the likes of Oxygen, who have been residing there for quite some time now, really playing that long game.
One team who is still alive here is NRG, but they have a tough rotation in front of them. I'm pretty sure they do have a Valkyrie to play with, though, on the hands of Gilderson, so they have the ability to redeploy. The issue for them is this team in front of them is just going to hold this line. They're going to look to poke. They're going to look to prod. And if NRG do get that a little bit wrong, then CLG will be able to just shred them out the skies. And all of a sudden, it's a 2v3 and CLG have the advantage. CLG up on this high ground as well. This is a tough place for NRG to have to win this fight from. But if anyone can do it, it's NRG.
And statistics would suggest the likes of NRG, Guard, or Complexity would be most likely to win this one just based off drop spots and where this circle is going to be going. And Guard are in one of the better positions, it does have to be said, but alongside them, Dark Zero also in a very commanding position at the moment. As we see in the kill feed, Complexity get eliminated. That's one of the prime position teams have just been wiped out, and it's Dark Zero who did get involved. As you can see, the final kill is done and dusted, and unfortunately that means Complexity, they'll have to look on and hope for the next game is going to be a bit better.
NRG still trying to work out what the next move is, trying to use the terrain. The defensive bombardment's now coming down on top of them. They're getting Valkyrie missiles, the swarm coming in as well from CLG. They also use that Nox gas. So NRG, have to say, have done a pretty good job here of actually stabilizing, considering all of the resources that CLG have thrown their way. Now NRG are going to take to the skies. Let's jump into a listening and see if they can survive.
And out to the right if possible. Go past these fences. Try to stay attached. No. Okay, I'm seal team. We got to fight behind us. We got to Val Colton. Stay on me. Stay postured on me.
Okay.
Postured in the jump. They Val Colton behind. I seal team passively. We need to walk up late. These guys are going to get shot on the side. Start working these guys. We need angles.
I'm on scan. I'm walking up. Behind us, rat.
What the hell? No, they failed their Val Colton. Kill these guys. We need kills.
Caustic crack on the right. On my X.
140 dead.
There's some. Nice.
I'm dead. Wait. I'm trying to crawl in. I'm gonna die. Yeah, I'm dead.
Whoa, NRG, everything seemed to be working out in their favor for just a second there. The Valkyrie ult behind them failed, but then that meant there was pressure. They thought they had a position after the Valkyrie ult initially was called. They thought they were going to be overtaken, and they'd found a safe place to play, but now you can see they're down to just one, and by the looks of things, not a lot of resources to play with either. I'm pretty sure the Sweet only had one shield cell as well, so NRG managed to find their way into the top 10, but one team who is still inside the center zone looking strong is Dark Zero.
If that was a fake Valcolt to try and bait them from behind, by the way, pure genius. But, you know, I'll give them credit. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Who knows? We'll find out as we dissect the gameplay. But 9 teams remaining. And one of those teams, Dark Zero, as you mentioned, in one of the prime positions. Optic are doing all right at the moment. They're in a good spot where they can potentially pick up some kills on those teams approaching the circle. But they themselves also have to rotate to the northeast side of this circle as well. But no other teams in front of them apart from Dark Zero. So Dark Zero is going to be their first point of contact when they get into the circle, but I think that Optic might just try and pick up some kills here as the circle closes.
Oxygen doing a little bit of damage as well. You can see God have lost RKN. He gets finished off as well. He'll just be a death box. And now you're going to see the information gathered. I think it's Dark Zero who are just to the right of Optic Gaming here. They're actually going to decide to Valcolt. And we've seen so many interesting late game plays from Optic Gaming where they just seem to find a spot to play. The question is, as they head down, they survey the land, are Optic going to be able to find that spot once more here, Dan?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them to actually find any room to play. They're not going to be within the circle, that's for sure, but they want to get a different angle because they were so isolated in the previous position, but now they can try and fight their way out. It's going to be very difficult, but you've got Horizon Lifts to work with here.
Oh, it's just carnage, though. You can see they're trying to block a team from exiting this building. They managed to do so, and now you've got Nox doing what he does best, and that is hitting shots. Duplex, though, he's getting pushed by that ring. He's going to be forced forward. This is the end of the road for Optic. We're down to just 7 as Dark Zero stand tallest in the center of this zone once more.
Smiley and Bot also eliminated. Guard now taken out. They were in one of the better positions, but Dark Zero still kings of the land here. Center circle, surveying everything around them. Luminosity also getting eliminated eliminated. Now we're down to just 2 squads as Oxygen get wiped.
Down to just 2, and Dark Zero have just been watching this go down. Zero also gets a Kraber shot, so now G2 find themselves with just 1 player alive. It's going to be down to Jim Burton to move in and finish things off, and Dark Zero, they make the trip over to North America. They say we're not just here to compete, we're here to take over.
And they've come a decent way